Hello and welcome to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up podcast. Here is where I share my thoughts, reactions, and review for my latest reaction videos. To find these full reaction videos, please search for @SeenEverything over on YouTube, or check the description of this podcast for more information. Also, please remember to rate and comment on this episode, and follow the podcast so you can see when I'm putting out new wrap-ups. And now, on to my latest wrap-up for American Psycho. Well, I don't know how that's going to come out. The frenetic energy of this movie kind of grabs hold of you at a certain point, you know? Just trying to figure out where solid ground is. I mean, I feel like you do that in any situation where you're watching a story like this. What's real, what's not real, just the kind of basic rules of the universe that you're operating in this story. This was increasingly difficult to figure out in that regard. The detective was asking about Paul Allen. We never saw him again after the meeting they had at lunch. In fact, at the meeting they had at lunch, it looked like he was pinning Patrick down, like that he had no alibi and there was nobody else that could have been involved. And then he just let him off the hook. You had a number of things happening that didn't make sense. He had an apartment, obviously, that he had killed other people at, that he killed the woman he was sleeping with, and then attempted to kill the other woman who ran all the way down the hall, and he managed to kill her anyway. He's running down the hall with a chainsaw. She's screaming, knocking on doors. He's naked, covered in blood, with a chainsaw, and kills her, and doesn't get caught somehow. Doesn't get caught for any of it somehow. Is just consistently more and more falling apart. In the beginning, we're starting to see him, like, we see what he's thinking, the violent and, horrible thoughts that he's thinking toward people, but obviously he's not saying them because the people aren't reacting. But the more disturbing parts almost, beyond that, I mean, those are very, very disturbing, but the parts that kind of took me off guard, or that really left me more perplexed. First of all, that he went back to the apartment and there was nothing there. I don't know if that means someone cleaned it up, or if that means that he just imagined it. I have to guess that it means that he imagined it. And if he imagined that, did he imagine all of it? Did he actually not kill anybody? Was it all just twisted and sick stuff that went on in his head and that he believed he did, but he didn't actually do, just because he was that much more detached from reality? Did he actually not kill Paul Allen? That would be the thing, is if in that moment, that guy didn't say he had dinner with Paul Allen in London. If he said he'd had dinner with Paul Allen there, like in New York, I'm assuming they were in New York. Moreover, if Paul Allen had walked in at that moment, somebody that he knows for a fact, at least as far as we saw and as far as he experienced, that he killed, but then all of a sudden he's there. So maybe he didn't. I think all of it's because they want to leave these questions up in the air so we don't really know the answers. But another way to interpret it, and I know that I'm getting into a lot of different things here. I know that there are people who have analyzed this movie over and over and tried to understand all these kinds of different interpretations out of it. There's lots of different theories about this movie. The other idea is that he did commit the murders, but he is a part of this ecosystem that can't allow something like what he's done to exist within it. So it just has to be erased somehow. It just has to be covered up. The way that that woman reacted, the real estate agent, she reacted like she knew who he was and what had happened there, and that it had been covered up, and that she wanted him to leave because they were in the process of trying to make it as though this had never happened. And him being there would have threatened that. Like, the thing you think happened didn't happen. Go back to your life. Never come back here again. And the lawyer, in particular, also at the restaurant. Him taking what Patrick said to him on the phone, the full confession, to be a joke. Not knowing Patrick's name at first, mixing up names. I don't know if that's purposeful or not, to make him feel even more like, hey, people aren't on to me. But even when Patrick, as clearly as he could, looked this guy in the eye and said, no, this is who I am. I'm Patrick Bateman, and I did these things. The guy still refused to believe it. And he said it's because he had dinner with Paul Allen twice in London. Is that another thing like the real estate agent? Like, I am creating an alibi here, or I am creating a way that what you're saying isn't true. Because again, this ecosystem we've created, this kind of toxic business ecosystem we all live in, can't have what you have done existing in it. So we just go to extra crazy lengths to make it as though these things just don't exist here. Even if you're blatantly telling me you've done them, even if you are flat out murdering people, we will just find ways to make it as though it didn't happen. I mean, also ignoring all the people that he has supposedly shot. But again, we get into areas where there are things that detach from reality there too. He straight up shot a doorman, then shot the janitor, then went outside and was shooting at the cops. He killed a number of cops, and then the car blew up, like they did in 80s action movies where you would just shoot at the cars and they would blow up. It leaves you in this place, this unnerving place, and I'm sure this is the point, or at least part of the point, where you don't know what was real and what wasn't. We don't know if he's murdered anyone or not, if it was all in his head or if he's truly a serial killer. But he's in this place with all these other people who in their own ways are just as empty as he is. It almost feels like this purgatory. That guy in particular saying, I'm not even hungry, but I want to have a reservation. It doesn't matter about what he actually wants or needs in his life. It's about, this is the system we live in. I need to be a part of that system. I need to fit in, like Patrick was saying. And I have to live by the rules of this system, whether they make sense or not. Just all about image, just all about success, all about who has the best suits, who has the best business card, who has the reservations to the most fancy restaurant. Even if they don't care about that, even if it's not what they want, it's just, this is the ecosystem we live in, and want doesn't come into it. And they all seem to be as emotionally vacant as he is in some ways. It almost looks like, again, if you say that he didn't kill anybody, and you took everything to be metaphor, it's like his mind desperately trying to feel something. And even if he did kill the people, we get into psychology here that I don't know a lot about. It's this thing of somebody unable to feel anything, doing increasingly dramatic and violent and horrific things, murder and all this other just unspeakable, unforgivable stuff, just in an effort to try to feel something, with this facade of being a person and having actual emotions and beliefs and all this kind of stuff, all this rehearsed stuff he would put out there. I don't know. I feel like I've rambled and I don't know what I've said. I feel like I've tried to process everything I just watched, and I don't know if I'm any closer to understanding what I watched. I feel like I'll need to watch this again and maybe I'll get a greater understanding, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I will. And I believe truly that this is the point of the way this movie was made, is for people to feel like this, is to feel unsettled and confused. And just, that's the psychological, like, mind game of this movie, it feels like. So I guess that's where I have to leave it. One thing I would be interested to know is she finally saw his planner with all that stuff in it. Jean did. She seemed to be kind of one of the only sane ones here, except for the fact that she had this just everlasting infatuation for Patrick, no matter how he treated her. But she was even horrified by what she was seeing there. I would have liked to have seen follow up on what happened with her after that, just to see where that led. But knowing this movie, it just would have led into another confusing wall. I did enjoy this movie, I think. I don't know directly how I feel about it. I don't know if it's something I'll be lining up again to watch soon. But man, was it sure an experience. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. Thanks so much for listening to the I've Seen Everything reaction wrap-up. Again, to find these full reaction videos, please search for @SeenEverything over on YouTube or check the description of this podcast for more information. Also, please remember to rate and comment on this episode and follow the podcast so you can see when I'm putting out new wrap-ups. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll meet you here for the next episode.